What's the matter, Kakarot?
Good morning and welcome to another Sunday with the Blerd Church of Anime. I am your preacher, your pastor, your cult leader, whatever you want to call me, the messenger for today. I am Black Star, here to share with you just another interesting message I want to say today through the lens of anime. Through the lens of anime. My familiar is back. Say hi, Ollie. So we'll see him in and out as I record today because I can't keep him out and I feel kind of bad locking the door on him whenever I'm trying to record. It makes really sad noises. But anyway, I had a cool week this week. I got some stuff done. Got a chance to do karaoke, which is one of my favorite pastimes. It's been a very busy week, and I would say in general, it's been a good week. And I hope you also had a good week, whether it was busy or not busy, or it's the calm before the storm of Thanksgiving week, before you have to go deal with family or whatever. I just hope it was a great week for you. And if it wasn't, well, you know what we say about bad weeks. F last week. We are all about doing the work and having a better week this week. So if last week kind of sucked for you, I am putting all the energy out there, all the vibes, all the stuff. That next week will be a good week, whether you're celebrating with family, you're doing stuff by yourself. If you got to work, hopefully you make your holiday pay. And if you don't have to work or you're not going to be with family, that you have a chance to, just chill, relax a little bit, and eat some good food. Oh, you know what? Thanksgiving is coming up, and all I really care about in Thanksgiving is eating good food. If I have to make it myself, it's not as fun, but we'll see. We'll see. Speaking of Thanksgiving, well, no, I'm going to save that for next week, but at the end of next week, after the whole holiday has passed, but for this week, I kind of want to take a look at a couple of animes that I really, really like. So just know that I like these animes. But I felt a little thing in my spirit that kind of nags me a bit about it. This idea of like low self-esteem, and does that make the perfect shoujo girl? I've already talked about shoujo and toxic relationships, so I'm not getting back into that. But there's been a couple of animes, and I actually kind of want to do this on like my personal channel, and I'm thinking about doing long form like video essays comparing these two animes. And the two animes I'm thinking of is My Happy Marriage, that's on Netflix, and Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, which is on Crunchyroll. Betrothal to My Sister X only has one season, and My Happy Marriage has two seasons, and they're both kind of like a Cinderella story. Girl whose mother died, kinda, has a sister that is more loved or beloved, and they're kind of treated as like the household help, the servant instead of part of the upper crust family they actually are. They've grown up, constantly being put down on the thumb of the heel from their parents and their family. And then they're whisked away by this prince. And not always literally a prince. In My Happy Marriage, it is someone who's high up there in the government. There's family lineage because family lineage matters. And then Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, it is a prince of a neighboring country. Is he a prince? I'm gonna double check that. I don't think he's a prince, but he's high up. He is very, very high up. He's not. I don't think he's an actual prince. No, he's friends with the prince. He's not a prince. He is pretty high up there, though. Much higher status than the main girl who lives out in the country. Um, and one thing you know about these two main characters is that because of the way they've been treated most of their lives, because of how their parents have made them into pretty much the help, or they're treated even lower than the help. They're told that they're nothing, they have very low self-esteem, and they really don't think the person that they really don't think the person that wants them actually wants them. So like the betrothed to my sister's ex, um, like her situation makes a little bit more sense. Like this guy reaches out for her sister and he's like, "Hey, I want to marry her." And then her sister doesn't make it, and then so the family sends her along as like, "Oh, this is what you get. We know nobody wants her." And he's like, "No, actually, this is the sister I want." And sorry. Let me back. Let's reroute this. Okay, let's start with My Happy Marriage. In My Happy Marriage, the main character is Mio. Mio, yes. Mia Saimori, and she is kind of born, and they consider her not to have supernatural talent. Like here, like you have these family lineages, they all have like some supernatural talent, and she is considered to be kind of like damaged because she doesn't have that talent. And so she's kind of forced into servitude for the household by her stepmother. Her father doesn't do anything to stop it. She has this sister who is very talented, half sister who's talented. And so like that's the person that they feel like she's gonna have to do it. Um, but because she's considered like they marry her off to a commander who is known to be like cold and very cruel, and that like he has like gotten rid of all of his soon to be brides 3 days after the engagement. So he keeps getting engaged because he's pretty high up there in status, but he like none of them work out because he's so mean, so cold. Kyoka Kodo, I think his name is Kyoka. So she's like, okay, sure, I'm gonna be getting married to this like guy who is handsome. Like these guys are never not handsome, but who's like, cold and mean. And she's like, well, I can endure that. I've endured tons of years living under my stepmother and my father's thumb, and they being really cruel to me. And I'm pretty much a housemaid. So, I can just be his maid. It's fine. Kind of like regaling herself to a life of unhappiness, but at least not in her family's house kind of thing, even though there is somebody who kind of wants to marry her, but that's a whole different side story. You can go read that or watch the anime to get that side story. And so she just has this, she's so shy. She feels that she is such a burden on people. And it's really, really hard for her to feel like she has any worth. Even with the big reveal, spoiler, that she does have supernatural talent, and it's a very rare talent, which is kind of why it didn't manifest the way it did for other people. She doesn't have the confidence in herself to like feel like she can stand next to her like wonderful husband Kyoka, who is commander and in charge and does all these things and helps people and keeps the land safe from the ghosts and stuff that like can plague them. And you're really just watching them to like learn how to communicate to each other, and him constantly being like, no, I want to keep you as my wife, even though he didn't really choose her because he knew her. He chose her because of like her lineage and whatever. And then found out she didn't have any talent. He was like, oh. But like they soon come to realize that they will find true happiness and love with each other. But you gotta get through Mio's whole like, the soft spoken, the girls, kind of like the Toru Hondas, just the kind of Sojo main characters I don't love. But I like Mio, I understand it. And then in Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, you have this other character, Marie Sheridan, something like that, Marie, who is the older sister, and she has spent her whole life being called ugly and stupid. She has red hair, which apparently is a crime in all anime for like girls to have red hair, is especially in like these European ass settings. Um, she's always called ugly and stupid. So they're pretty much like took everything about her and then like made her feel like she could do nothing except be like the family's butler. She has a younger sister, Anastasia, is it? No, Anastasia's the older sister. Sorry, Maria's the younger sister. Anastasia's the older sister. So they have Anastasia. Anastasia's perfect. She's beautiful. She's blonde. She's beautiful. All these things. And then they have Marie, and she's a disappointment. She's redheaded. All that kind of stuff. So Anastasia actually really likes Marie, but because of their parents kind of like forces them to be apart, Marie becomes again like a servant to the family. Um, on Marie's birthday, it's supposed to be like her debut, she's still kind of dressed in rags or whatever, and she thinks like they're gonna actually for once honor her, but it's really her sisters coming out, and so they make the party all about Anastasia. And Marie is trying to be like, I understand. It's not, it's fine. It's just my birthday. So, she can't show being upset. So she runs out into the garden to kind of cry and get herself back together and be like, it's fine. It makes more sense for them to spend money on Anastasia than me, even on my birthday, because I'm nothing. Um, and while she's in the garden, she meets the Duke, Kyros. Kyros is a Duke. He is a foreigner, or he's half foreigner, like that causes complications later. And he meets Marie in the garden, and she notices that he, like, with his browner skin, she's like, oh my gosh, are you from this country? And she kind of start, because she likes to read, like she loves books, she loves like learning about different stuff. um and he's like, yes, and he starts this whole conversation with her, and she's like, okay, yeah, yeah, but like she looks like a servant girl. She looks not like the birthday girl. So when he gets into the party, and then Anastasia's the one being fawned on and all the people are talking, blah blah blah, um he's like, oh, that must be Marie, who the party's for. I want the other sister, Anastasia. When he realizes that she is part of the household, so he writes to her father to be like, can you please send Anastasia? I'm gonna marry her, blah 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 blah. And her father says yes, because it's a duke, even though not the kind of duke he wants his daughter in. So Anastasia is going on the trip, and then she doesn't make it. Um, Plot happens. She's presumed dead, and so now the family feels like, oh shoot, well, we got to do something, or this powerful man might ruin us. So they send Marie instead, and Marie knows that she's just there to like be a constellation prize, pretty much. And that at some point her dad truly believes, her father believes, that he's gonna like get tired of Marie and send her back home, and that is what it is. So months later, Marie shows up, and Kyros is like, I don't want anybody. I don't want this other sister. I wanted that sister. And then he sees her, and he's like, oh, no, no, you're the sister I wanted. She's like, no, 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 no. I know you want friends. He's like, I thought you were Anastasia and that she was Marie, because the party for Marie and Sheila, like the party was about her. And he's trying to explain it. She just doesn't get it because, again, she's been so beaten down. And this guy really, really likes her. And he's trying to get through to her through all her insecurities and her being like, I'm not good at this. I'm not beautiful. I'm ugly. He's like, no, you're ravishing. They just kept you in rags. No, 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 no. So you watch this love story unfold with two characters that kind of like each other. I mean, Kyros definitely likes Marie, and Marie has never entertained the notion that anyone would like her. So she's learning to be like what it's like to like somebody. But most of the love in both of these stories, My Happy Marriage and Betrothed to My Sister's Ex, is really the main character, the main girl, um, finding her own self worth. And I do like that. I like watching how love cannot really bloom until you love yourself, or till you find the pieces about yourself that are worth other people loving. Because it doesn't matter how much somebody tells you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I want you, I want you, I want you, I need you, I need you, I need you. If you don't love yourself, you won't, one, believe them, and you'll always keep looking for some type of inconsistencies that'll be like, no, 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 you can't possibly want me, and you'll do stuff that ends up sabotaging it, or you start looking for all these other ways to make this not be about you, or they don't really like me, they're just, I'm just useful. Like, you'll find all these ways for you to believe that people don't love you. And then, too, if you can't love yourself, it's really, really hard to truly love somebody else. I mean, RuPaul's always said, like, honey, if you can't love yourself, how the hell is anybody else going to? Which, I mean, these shoujo clearly show these guys love these girls, even though they have the self-esteem of, like, a slug. Um, and again, it's not their fault. There is like, and I love that the animes really show that there's true trauma that comes in. They've been taught down to. They've been told they're nothing. They've been told there's always somebody better. Either normally they're sisters, younger sisters at that, who are, or whatever. For Maria's the older sister. Normally they're sisters, someone who they have this idealized who the perfect woman is thrust upon them to have to like be compared with every day, and so that comparison only furthers decreases how they feel about themselves, and that is terrible. And I am also not a fan of like getting married or getting a husband and betrothed or whatever is the source of you being able to find yourself and to like yourself. Like someone else wanting you helps you to learn how to want yourself. I don't subscribe to that message at all. I love a love story, but I don't believe romantic love can heal all your wounds. And I do, but I do love that there's this idea, this intimate relationship, which is a romantic one, again thrust upon them. It's not like they met and they fall in love and now you're like whatever. It's like all these circumstances happen that these two people got thrust together, and now that you're forced to kind of live with them, to be betrothed to them, to be engaged to them, you're learning to figure out, like, is this somebody I can like, and this is someone who will treat me well, and understanding what it means to be treated well as you learn to treat yourself well. I talk a lot in my friendships and just in general, and I truly, truly believe in love, but more so self love, familiar and friendship love, and then possibly romantic love. And familiar love, I kind of do separate from friendships because I believe. Because I do think your friendships can become family, especially when you come from toxic family environments. And like both of these girls come from very toxic families. They come from people who, again, their joy was pushing them down and making them feel like they were less than. And really reveling in that they were supposed to be less than. And I mean, and both families have their reasons to make somebody feel less than. It comes from their own insecurities, both from Mio's family and My Happy Marriage, and from Marie's family. Marie's father really like makes her feel like she's stupid and ugly, and that no one will want her, and that she's gonna have to live her whole life at home with him. Even when he sends her off to go see the prince or the duke, his expectation that she's going to have to come home because he's not going to be happy with her, and that she's going to want to come home too. And he was banking on that. He was banking on her coming home because again, they didn't think that anybody would want her. And the thing that is the big reveal is that like they are not worthless. Like again, Mio has this special power, although no, she's a really nice and sweet person, very thoughtful. She could clean a whole house because that's what she was taught to do. Marie is actually very smart and not just beautiful. Like the red hair and her statue makes her like gorgeous and stands out, which is something that Kiros really like noticed when he first talked to her, even with her in her rags. He loves her red hair, and he's like, no, we can polish you up in a heartbeat, put you on some nicer clothes. You're gonna be everyone's gonna want to date you. But like beyond that, her kindness, but she's a hard worker. She's actually very, very she's very, very smart. And her smarts is what's been making her whole family's estate run. And she doesn't know this. Like like she's been doing all this work for her father and not questioning it because he's been able to get so in there and diminish her self-worth that she believes that working under his thumb is all she can ever do, and that she will do the abuse. And it is not funny because so many people are living under these conditions, and not directly like having an abusive father and having to work for his company and blah blah blah, but your family has done damage to you. Your community has done damage to you. Growing up and going to school and peers have done so much damage to people and making them feel like they are less than, that they've never been chosen. I know people who like their fifth grade crush, fourth grade crush, second grade crush said no to them, and that hurts them. They've been made fun of by the opposite sex or the same sex. If you, especially if you're queer and you're from a town where like queerness was not talked about and you were ashamed for that, like there's so many ways that make people feel like you cannot be loved. Bullying is a common thread for why people feel like their self-esteem is so low and they can't find the good pieces of themselves. And even when you get out of a bullying situation, even when you're taken away from that home, like the case for Marie and for Mio. I love that both of their names starts with an M and both of their fiancés have names starts with a K. Huh. Anyway, for Mio and Marie, even if you get into a better situation, it's not easy to just be like, okay, and now I like myself. Okay, now I see that I have worth. No, like you're being put into a whole nother spot, and it's still a building process. And I think that's what I like about these shows. Even though it can get frustrating, is that you're slowly seeing them build their self-esteem and slowly building up their worth. And it is a consistent thing, especially for their partners. Kiros and Kyoko, Kyoka have to be very cognizant of the words they use and the way they express and communicate, because every little like mistake crumbles that little bit of esteem they have built up. Anytime, like a flash of anger, even if it's not at them, at something else, they automatically hide back in their hidey hole. Like, that is a big issue for people who have come from abusive situations. Like, there's so many things that, like, your brain is not wired the same if you're coming from an abusive situation. Um, so it's not just like, oh, I can make myself love myself. It's like, no, there's so many things that have to happen. And then the way you interpret things is completely different, because and being attuned to people's moods. So even when Keiko's like, I'm not mad at you, it's been a difficult day at work, or Curious is like dealing with something else, they see a mood and they're like, but the mood was always at me. And so I don't know how to react in the situation itself, to cower, to fear, to move away, to be like, to say, I'm sorry for being a nuisance when you're not being a nuisance. And that's another thing these animes, I think, do sort of well as well, is that there's these supporting characters whose job is to further reinforce to the main characters, Mio and Marie, that they are worthy. It's not just on the love interest, because it's not one person, even if you love them to death, cannot overcome the effects of abuse and low self-esteem. It does take a village. It takes a community of people constantly sewing in and digging in and having tough conversations. For Mio, it is Kyoka's older sister, who kind of takes her under her wing, and she's like, okay, you don't listen about yourself, or you're afraid of being able to be seen on his arm or going into public spaces. So why don't we practice what it's like being a lady in this era? Why don't we practice the Western customs as well? Like, she does so many practical things to help Mio feel like she's ready to debut and to even be seen on Kyoko's arm, or even be considered his fiance without embarrassing him. She really comes in and she like does a lot of work with Mio, and decides like teaching her helps her to get this self-esteem and this confidence. And even when she messes up, teaches her like, it's okay, you'll do it better next time. And I think that's really important. For Marie, Kyril's own mother, who is a foreigner, and she has felt a lot of like, she's had a lot of eyes look at her and told her she's not worthy. I think his name is like Lilu or something like that. No, her name's like Lulu or Lilu, something like that. She she's also a mistress, and so she is considered this illegitimate person, in political society, not always um considered the highest status, but she is smart, and she sees in Marie this same thirst for knowledge, and she really, really pushes Marie to like do the work and utilize her skills so she can be helpful to Kyros in a different way. And in that, and her seeing those successes help build to her self-esteem. Also, Kyros' whole household is here for Marie. Like, they know that their master really loves this girl, and they do everything in their power, from the head maid to the chef. I think they have like this person who just does hair and makeup for her. Like, they all come to her, and they are constantly like saying affirmative things to Marie to help her see that, like, she is worthful, that she is worthwhile, that she is desired, that she is a beautiful person, that she is super smart, that she does have worth, and they're constantly pouring into her. And I think that helps just as much, if not more, than what their fiancés tell them. I think overall, again, I don't think you can be in a happy, healthy relationship until you are able to truly love yourself and love who you are, and see the good parts of you that bring out to the world. Like, yes, we should know our faults because we should be working on them. But you also need to know your good pieces. You need to know what makes you you. You need to know what makes you unique. You need to know what makes you lovable. And then it's also super helpful for people who struggle with that, again, because of abuse and childhood traumatic, experiences, bullying, whatever, is to have a community around that sows into you as well. And I know for the community that can get a little bit hard. You're like, I see why this person's such an amazing person. Why don't they see it? Why can't they just be like, I'm amazing. I'm a badass. We've been telling you this for, oh, excuse my language. I've been telling you this for years, but it's again, it's a difficult process. It's not easy for people to just wake up and have self-esteem, or wake up and their brain chemistry to work perfectly, where they can like dismiss the voices in their head, which is a lot of times the people in their lives all the time telling them that they were growing up with voices in their head telling them that they were never going to be good enough, and just overwrite that with people they've met or people they've met over time. It is so hard. But I'm encouraging, whether you're the person who has the low self-esteem, to like really work on it. Love, start like making lists about things you like about yourself, and the affirmations in the mirror, and being able to look at yourself and see yourself in the eye for the amazing person you are, even when you don't feel it. You got to still speak it into your own life. And for those of us who are working with people or loving people who have self-esteem and self-worth issues, to be patient, to like understand they're going to be slip up. There are going to be times where there's a miscommunication happens and they're going to automatically assume the worst about themselves. But we have to be steady voices. We have to be continued voices to be like, okay, you, even when they do a mess up, okay, you messed up. That's okay. You can get it right the next time. This is not how you would just stop, you know? We don't just stop. Our whole lives for one screw up. And like, and I'll be honest with be honest with them about things that you may not like about yourself, and things that you are working on, that you know you don't have to be perfect to have self-esteem. I tell people this all the time. Like, I have a very realistic self-image, but an overstated self-esteem. My ego is high. People be like, "What do you look like?" I'm like, I'm a five. I clean up to a seven. Like, I know, like realistically, I know where I am in the paths, but I'm always going to act like I'm the baddest thing out there. Like, my self-esteem is so high, and it took me years to understand that everybody just can't be like that naturally. Like, that the people are not wired in the same way. And so I had to tailor a lot of my conversations, especially with friends of mine who didn't have that self-worth, that self-esteem, to not be annoyed with them and just be like, well, I told you were great, then you should know you were great. But to really like work with them and say like, I know you're amazing and I want you to see the amazing person, but we have to work on this together, and you're going to have to do work yourself to make sure that you don't let the voices telling you that you're less than are louder than the voices out here telling you that you are greater than. So, if no one told you today, you are greater than any of the voices that tell you that you are not good, that you're not worthy, that you're not loved, that you can never be loved, that you will never find anyone that appreciates you. That is not true. That is not true at all. You are an amazing human being. There's nobody like you. There's so many good things that you have going for you, and there's so many more great things you can have going for you as well. Like, you're not just the person you were bait to be in this moment. You can continue to reach higher heights, and I know that you'll be able to do it. And if nobody says that, I'm saying that to you. I love you as a human being. I hope you do what it takes for you to be able to love yourself. And if you are not in a community of people who sew into you, who tell you about the good parts of yourself, I want you to really reach out or find new people, because you'll never be able to do the work and keep that work up that you're doing to like love yourself around negative voices that are constantly chipping away. It's like trying it's like trying to bake something, but like birds and mice keep coming to your ingredients. It's like trying to build, but then like somebody keeps coming down and taking a Lego away or knocking the building down every time they say something hurtful. And at some point, you have to protect yourself. You have to get away from those voices and then find the people who will tell you what you're worth, and they can see your worth, because I promise you, someone sees your worth. I see your worth. You need to be here. So, on that heavy note, I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you remember this if you're ending up having to spend the holidays with family members who don't always treat you like you're worth worth something, or people who like to downplay you or remind you of your worst parts of yourself. Just even if you have to go and endure, because I'm not gonna tell people like to stay out of the situation. Sometimes you don't have the luxury to. Make sure the time that you're going to spend with them, double the time you spend with the people who tell you you're worth something. That's important too. All right. All right. Well, then I'll see you next week, hopefully. Have an amazing Thanksgiving and all the other things. See you until next time. Bye. The Blerd Church of Anime podcast is produced by Blackstar, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.